Hello, I'm Julie from Thermo Kitchen, and today we're making brownie cookies, otherwise known as brookies. Okay, so let's get started. Now we've got our TM6 here and it's on the Cookadoo menu. So I'm just going to tap the home button to get us onto manual mode. Okay, we have 360 grams of chocolate, and I'll tell you about the chocolate in just a second. But what we're going to do is just grate that so it will melt quicker. So just pop this on for 3 seconds, tap the first circle, that's our timer, and then tap the blade speed for 8. Tap the screen to make the noise go away. There we go, we've got our roughly chopped chocolate. So we're going to reserve this. Pop the bowl back on, and we're adding our butter and we're melting the butter. So that's 45 grams of butter. Lid on. Okay, so that's 1 minute. 60 degrees and speed 2. Okay, so now let's talk about the recipe and the chocolate. So the recipe is originally from Masterchef in about 2016. I think this recipe was featured as a brookie on the Nigella episode. So in that recipe, well, basically I was watching it and I thought I have to have some brookies in my life. So I got the recipe off the program, and it said to use dark chocolate. I think it was 70% plus milk solids. Now I have a well-stocked pantry and I went straight away and made the brookies, and 70% milk solids, cocoa solids don't work. The brookies spread all over the tray and it didn't work. Now, not to be deterred, I thought I'd try it again. But the next time I made it, I only had 45% cocoa. So when I did that, it worked, and it worked perfectly. So I realized that the problem was with the percentage of cocoa in the chocolate. So the higher the percentage of cocoa, the more fat. And the more fat, the more the brookies will spread on the tray. So it is important to never use above 45% cocoa solids. And I always just use the Cadbury dark chocolate at 45%. It works every time, it doesn't need to be expensive. I actually secretly think that Masterchef said the 70% milk cocoa solids simply to be a little bit snobby about it. But it doesn't work. So definitely stick with your Cadbury's 45%. Okay, so our butter has now melted. Yep, perfect. And we're going to add the reserved chocolate to the butter. Now the reason I don't leave the chocolate in while I'm doing the butter is just on the off chance that the chocolate seizes because the butter hasn't melted. Whereas by melting the butter first, you know that the chocolate's not going to seize because it's actually adding all the extra oil in at the same time. And now we are going to put that on for 2 minutes at 60 degrees again, and hitting the blade speed to speed 2. Okay, so that's going to combine that. The butter is already melted and heated a little, so that'll make melting the chocolate a little bit quicker. Now the reason I haven't put that on a Varoma temperature or anything hot is because we really don't need to have a hot brookie mixture, because we're going to need to cool it down later before we cook it. So just getting it to melting point is all that we're aiming for in this. Okay, now if you do find that your chocolate seizes, there is no need to be worried. All you'll need to do is just blend it a little bit faster when we add the corn flour and sugar. The seized chocolate is not going to have any effect on your brookies at all for the finished product. Okay, it's looking very good. So just take a look in there, nice melty chocolate, exactly what we're after. Okay, and now we are adding the rest of our ingredients. So we have 80 grams of corn flour going in, 125 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, and we have 3 eggs. I'm just going to crack 3 eggs in, lid back on, and that's 1 minute, and speed 6 to mix all that up. Okay, let's take a look. Tap the screen to stop the noise. Take a look at that, we're getting close. Okay, now we're just going to scrape down the bowl. It's not really anything to worry about, but if any of the sugars and things like that have come up the bowl, you just scrape it down. Okay, now we are going to put the scales on. So we're sliding across to the scales and tapping the scales button. Now we're just going to add 50 grams of the 100 grams of dark chocolate. So just watch that. Now you might notice that unlike how I am in most of my recipes, I'm actually quite precise in this recipe. And there's a reason for that. So I'm just going to X out of the scales, tap the home, and we're just going to put that one on for 30 seconds on reverse blade and speed 2. And that's just going to combine the choc chips. Okay, the choc chips I've used again. I'm not sponsored by Cadbury's, but I just like them. So it's just the regular baking chips. Okay, so the reason I'm being very specific about these measurements is because this is one recipe where if you get it wrong, it won't work. There's only 80 grams of corn flour in this recipe, and the flour in biscuit recipes is what actually holds it all together and stops it spreading, and 80 grams of corn flour is not a lot. And we've got 45 grams of butter, we've got our dark chocolate, which has got a lot of oils in it. So if we added too much chocolate or not enough flour or a bit more butter, you're going to have a different consistency in your batter, and it will probably spread all over your baking tray, which is not nice. Okay, so here is our completed batter. Now I'm going to put the batter into a bowl because the next step is to actually chill the batter. And this again is because we have a recipe with high fat content, and if I was to just put this on a baking tray now and bake straight away, it would spread a lot more and the bickies wouldn't look anywhere near as attractive. So we'll scrape all this out and then just cover and pop in the fridge. Now we want to chill it right down. So we're going to be chilling it down for about an hour. And the other thing is that once we actually have this chilled, it'll be a lot more scoopable, so we'll get a lot better shape to our cookies. Okay, so off to the fridge. Okay, so we are back. I have had the Brookie mixture cooling in the fridge, and now it's a lot firmer than what it was when I first put it in. Now, this is something that you could make a day ahead and just cook off on the day you want to have them, if that's more convenient. Okay, so we just take a scoop and then push it off onto the baking paper. Now I am leaving a lot of space for spreading. So I'll only get probably 9 on this sheet, I'm thinking. Now I know these look rather messy, but because they do actually squish down and spread, they become actually quite circular. Okay, so I've got 9 on that tray. And remember we had our chocolate chips. We're just going to add a couple of chips to the top of that as well. Now's your chance. If there's any bits that you want to tidy up, you can. I'm not overly concerned though. So I'm putting about 3 or 4 choc chips on the top. Now also try and get them roughly the same size because then they'll cook at the same time, and these go in for only about 13 minutes depending on your oven, so it's not a long cook time either. So if there's a difference between one being really big and one being really small, it will make a difference to cooking. Okay, so that noise that you heard in the background is my oven ready for the brookies. So I'll put this first tray in now and we'll get started on the next one. Okay, now while that one's cooking, I'll get the next tray ready. So now would be a good time to set a timer for 13 minutes because 13 minutes goes quite quickly and it's really easy to forget them. And even though they'll still be nice, it's really good to get them out when they're like just before completely set, because they will continue to harden and once they cool down, so you don't want to overcook your brookies. Okay, and I'll be back in 13 minutes. Okay, so our timer has gone off and now we'll just take a look at our brookies. Okay, so here we are. Now, if I touch these, you can see that there's a crispy outer shell, but it still seems quite soft in the middle, and that's okay. So this is how they are when they come out of the oven and they are completely cooked. So there's no need to put these back in the oven, but we aren't going to try and move them just yet, otherwise we'll have a crumbly mess. So I'm just going to put these aside and take a look at our other ones. They were a little bit smaller, so they might not take quite as long. Okay, so they've probably got another minute. So here we have it. Brookies, you can see that they're probably almost double the size they went in, and they went in looking really messy and unformed, but they've come out looking pretty good. So I hope you've enjoyed this recipe. You will find this in my free ebook. So the ebook link will be in the comment section below. Feel free to go ahead and download it. There's probably maybe 9 or so recipes in there, and they're all some of my favorite recipes. We've put this book together, my husband and I, so that people can have a look at the recipes that I make. And if you enjoy the free ebook, there's another 3 cookbooks that I've produced. So happy cooking. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to join me on our Thermo Kitchen Facebook group. Happy cooking!